الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, firstly thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again. Allah has granted us the tawfiq and the health and the strength to perform our Maghrieb Salaah with Jama'ah. Alhamdulillah. We ask Allah to accept our Salah with Jama'ah. And we ask Allah to grant us sincerity and istiqamah. Ameen Rabbal Alameen. This evening, inshallah, we continue with our tafsir of Surah Inshirah, Lam Nashrah Laka Sadrak. And we will end of the surah tonight, inshallah, which will probably be also our last tafsir before the month of Ramadan. Because next week, the month of Ramadan will commence highly possible Thursday already. So the Wednesday night, we will do Taraweeh, inshallah. So this evening, we end up with the last two verses of Surah Alam Nashrah Laka Sadrak. And as we have mentioned yesterday, last week, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this entire surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the initial opening verses, Allah mentioned some of the ni'mas and favors Allah has granted Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And last week we have mentioned the beautiful ni'mah which Allah has blessed our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with, and that is وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raised the fame of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the status of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mention of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's mentioned how did Allah raise the mention of Rasulullah? One narration mentioned that whenever Allah's name is mentioned, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name is mentioned with it. And we've mentioned, for example, the Shahadatain, when a person accepts Islam, he cannot accept Islam except that he must make Shahada of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. A person, Adhan, everything is connected. Calling Adhan, Allah's declaring Allah's oneness with Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sending and declaring Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam being the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dua being suspended if it is not salawat not included in it. Allah and His Rasul, Allah and the Malaika send salawat upon Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the mention of Rasulullah and the status of Rasulullah, Allah has elevated it. A unique feature and a unique bounty Allah has given our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And today we have mentioned it today, even up till today, as I mentioned the example last week when Queen Elizabeth, when she passed away, there was a meme going around that says that people was astonished to see that for 2 days or whatever the amount of time, people were standing in line to greet and to pay their respect to the Queen. And then someone written, for the past 1,400 years, people are still standing in line to show the respect to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, still greeting Rasulullah 24/7. The only time there's a break is when they go for salah. Immediately after salah, it's almost like the tawaf of the Kaaba. Immediately after salah, people rush to start the tawaf again. Like that, immediately after the salah, people are rushed to go in line, especially nowadays. People are standing in line to go to visit and send salutations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to pay their respect and walk past the grave of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is how Allah has elevated the mention of our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in tonight's verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminds us, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, that verily along with every hardship is relief. Verily along with every hardship there's relief, and there's ease that come with it. And this is the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The system of Allah is such that Allah mentioned that definitely I will test you. Definitely Allah will put us through tests. Allah will test us with hunger. Allah will test us with disasters. Allah will test us with sickness. Allah will test us by taking away our wealth. Allah will test us by taking away our loved ones. Allah will test us in so many ways. But Allah in this verse brings comfort to our hearts that indeed Allah, with the difficulty, there's always ease that comes with it. And Allah repeats it twice, that ease is with the difficulty, to make us realize that don't become hopeless. Don't think that it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment upon you. Rather, if we could only see the ease that comes with the difficulty, the reward that comes with it, we will understand and we will be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with the difficulties is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes ease. And for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this meant that we've spoken of how Rasulullah went through difficulty in this propagation of this deen and this da'wah. How many times Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called a mad person? How many times he was called names? How many times he was physically harmed? How many times his companions was harmed? And through that, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam remained steadfast. He knew that the day will come when Allah will send and Allah will bring relief and Allah will make ease. And that's why the narration mentioned that one of the most happiest moments of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he felt the ease and the success Allah has given to this ummah, is the last day before Rasul passed away, when he opened the curtain and and he saw the Sahaba radiallahu anhu making salah in jama'ah. And he reflected over the time that how all of these people today, they are worshipping one Allah. The same people who sometimes fought against him, same people who worship idols, the same people who Rasulullah had struggled with. Today they are worshipping one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the hard work. Today Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that day Allah showed him that now it's a time of ease. Now all of the effort that they've put in this ummah, today we can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So likewise, when we go through difficulty, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, sometimes the relief is not immediate. Sometimes we perceive that, Ya Allah, when is the relief and when is the yab of Allah coming? When is the ease of Allah coming? Definitely we bring yaqeen. The ease of Allah with the difficulty will come. If it doesn't come in this dunya, definitely in the akhirah we will experience the reward of the difficulty that we went through in this dunya. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends of the surah beautifully, where Allah says, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. So when you are finished, and here the Mufassirun, they mention, they interpret these verses, when you have finished your, in a few ways, they say, when you have finished your worldly responsibilities, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ, then devote yourself to Allah, in worship to Allah. All of us, we work, we go through our striving in this dunya to earn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that when you have finished, the Mufassirun says, meaning that when you have finished your worldly chores and your worldly works and efforts in this dunya, now after that you need to strive when you feel tired, because that is the tiredness comes into the end of the day. Allah reminds us, you must exert through the tiredness, spend a portion of time in your dedicating your worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ, and worship Allah, and to your Lord turn intention and hopes and sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another interpretation the ulama mentioned that this verse, it refers to those people, seeing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the greatest da'i, the greatest worker of this deen, the greatest alim, the greatest worshipper, the greatest person who benefited the ummah, who assisted and served this ummah. And in Ma'arif al-Quran, the Mufassir beautifully mentioned, he says that this refers to all of the ulama, all of those who are busy with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who call to the deen of Allah, that when you have completed, and he referred to that type of work as indirect worship. He says when we serve, when we feed the hungry, we're part of involving in collecting money to serve and to feed the poor. We're part in teaching the ummah how to read the Quran. We're teaching them a hadith. We're calling them to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're teaching people the deen of Allah. He says that is a worship, but an indirect worship. He says all of those people, we need to have a direct worship to Allah, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning a portion of the day, a portion of the night, we need to strive and have a personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is where we recharge, as I say, recharge the batteries. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned, every night you will engage in Qiyamul Layl. Every night you will engage in a private worship to Allah, because why? That is where we present our struggles and our needs in front of Allah. We're struggling to teach our community, we're struggling to give it over. turn to Allah, connect with Allah in private, as the ulama mentioned, and Allah will give you the energy to continue in serving the ummah, continue to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us this ability to make us of those who, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us, definitely with the difficulty, ease is connected to it, ease will come with it. And as the last verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that when we go through and when we have completed our worldly affairs, when we have finished our duty towards the ummah, for those who are teaching and serving this deen, we need to set a time aside where we worship Allah, when we strive in worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone in seclusion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept and to grant us ease and to make us of those who will try to implement to the best of our ability. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.